I see you scrolling through another Sunday, and I get it. Maybe you've been hurt by the church. Maybe you've just been bored by the church. I felt the exact same way for a long time. But there's something that the Bible and Harvard researchers both have in common. They say you should go to church. Today I'm going to show you why missing church might genuinely be cutting years off your life. I certainly don't judge you for not going to church, but I can offer some words as to why you might like to find a church that suits you and attend regularly, at least from my perspective. I often hear from Christians who are disillusioned with the thought of going to church. Bad experiences have left bad taste in their mouth, and often understandably so. There are many crimes of organised religions across the gamut of religion, from child abuse scandals to simply being boring or out of touch. But the Bible invites us to meet together and to support each other, which is one of the most important things that you can find in a church. I used to feel the same. I can worship and foster a relationship with God without going to church, right? And I did, sort of. But we'll get back to my story. I want to jump into the evidence. It's not just a feel-good Sunday, put your nice shirt on and go and take communion. There's science to back up the claim that churchgoers are happier and healthier. And if you just attend a secular club instead, you don't see the same benefits. Harvard researchers discovered something pretty striking. I'm just going to hit you with some of the findings. Women who attend church once a week are 5 times less likely to kill themselves. The risk improvement is there in men as well, although not quite to the same degree. People who attend religious gatherings regularly live on average 8 years longer. They also saw a 30% reduction in depression, a 30% reduction in mortality over 16 years of age. Pew Research found similar findings, with strong links between regular church going and happiness. The studies from Pew generally indicate that individuals who actively participate in religious congregations tend to report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction compared to those who are religiously unaffiliated or inactive. Believers who don't go to church fare the worst in these studies. The group tends to do worse on average in measures of depression and anxiety, sense of meaning or life satisfaction, or social support. But this isn't just correlation. There's something about gathering together that changes your brain chemistry. Because religious belief without community is like trying to warm yourself by remembering what fire feels like. And here's the thing, God told us this thousands of years ago. Science is only catching up. So, like I said, I used to feel like that I could worship and foster a relationship with God without going to church. And I did, sort of. But imagine you have a friend, right, who's always inviting you to things. But you never go. They text you or call you and ask you over for birthdays, for sports events, dinner, Christmas. You just say, hey, it's fine. I'm okay with just texting you occasionally. How do you think that affects your relationship with your friend? Is that going to be a close relationship? Is that relationship going to be deep and meaningful? Is it going to grow? That's what we do to God and His people when we skip church. Luke 4:16 says, Jesus went into the synagogue, as was His custom. If even Jesus needed to go to church, what makes us think we don't? Hebrews 10:25 says, let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another. And this is good advice. We need to come together in fellowship for the benefits of building each other. Because that is the main charge of the church, according to 1 Corinthians 14. Not worship, not eating a little wafer, right? Not the sermon, but building each other up. All things are to be done for the edification of each other. If we look in Acts 2, we see the early church model supports this as well. They shared meals together. They taught each other and supported each other daily, meeting in the temple and then meeting to eat together in each other's homes. So what are you actually missing if you're sitting at home on a Sunday morning? Well, if we examine a few verses here, we can see the Greek word koinonia, which appears in Acts 2:42, meaning deep fellowship. And that's something you can't get from a live stream. It's not something you can get from a YouTube video. And it's not something you can even get from your Bible. You need connection. You need each other. You need people, other Christians. My faith, understanding, community, and relationship with God all flowered when I began attending church again. It afforded me a closer relationship with God. It gave me a constant reminder to keep my mind on God and inspired me to think about different scriptures every week. We've talked about a few verses like this already, but I just want to highlight 1 Thessalonians 5:11 to really hammer my point home. It says, "Therefore, encourage one another to build one another up, just as you are doing." Again, that same wording, build one another up. It's a deep fellowship. Another important phrase is one anothering. Eleilon, the Greek, means one another, each other, mutually, reciprocally. But whenever we see it used, it's always in relation to building up one another. Love one another, serve one another, bear one another's burden, pray for one another, comfort one another, encourage one another. The Bible has over 50 one another commands, and you can't do them alone. Going to church and one anothering each other can help you discover your spiritual gifts through these commands and through service opportunities. God doesn't just invite you to attend. He invites you to be an agent of change, to find purpose beyond yourself. In Luke 22, Jesus invites us to remember him by breaking bread. There's something powerful about shared meals and shared worship that you simply can't replicate alone. There's something about eating together that bonds us. And if anyone here is in a choir, or even you've been to a concert, you'll know that the experience that singing together can bring is amazing. But I've painted a picture of a beautiful church experience. Not everybody's experience with church has been like that. Many people have had bad experiences, and I don't judge you for not trusting church after that. I often hear from Christians who are disillusioned with the thought of going back to church. We talked about bad experiences leaving a bad taste in your mouth. You might be thinking, but what about all the ways that church has failed people? I see you. I hear you. The hurt is real. Churches have covered up abuse. They have been judgmental. They've been hypocritical, boring, irrelevant. Some have caused genuine trauma. But here's my question. If a hospital had malpractice, would you never go to a hospital again? If your family was dysfunctional growing up, would you avoid all relationships? What if, instead of looking for the perfect church, you became part of making church better? 1 Peter says, each one should use whatever gift he has received to serve others. What if your story, your questions, your perspective is exactly what a community needs? Don't be a consumer of the church. Be the church. Your healing journey could be a part of someone else's healing journey too. Not all churches are the same, and in another video, I'll put the link down below, I've been talking about this, how to find a good church. Either way, the goal isn't a perfect church. After all, we're all broken people, but it's a faithful community. Life can be difficult sometimes, and decisions and priorities can be hard to work out, especially when you're busy. For a while I ran a business, and it meant I was never around at church. Ever since I have closed that business, I am more present for the priorities that matter. It makes me much more fulfilled. It's important to set aside time to dedicate to Christ and to fellowship which can support you through your hardest times and strengthen your relationship with God. I wish you luck, my brother or sister. Ultimately, life can be difficult and a winding path, but with God's love, we can be set free. So here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to visit a local church. Reach out to them or just show up. Come with an open heart. And remember to look for community, not perfection. Remember, you're not looking for what you can get, you're looking for what you can bring. Don't just take my word for it. Take Harvard's word. Take God's word. Your future self will thank you for the community you build today. Remember to subscribe, comment with your church experience, whether good or bad. I want to hear it. And share this video if you think it can bring value to someone you love. My name's Jacob, and this might be church.